Time now for Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare. The Chicago Fire get ready to take on Orlando City SC. They met Orlando City a couple of weeks ago, and Frank, that was one of those games where Orlando's down a man, Orlando's down two men. Chicago Fire had some opportunities late, but one that you would have expected a better result, despite the fact it was down in Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the last game and then the way it started, there definitely were opportunities there in the beginning of the game. You know, I think changed, after the first red card and even after the second with Ocherino, because I felt that, you know, I think there was, you know, the Orlando dropped very deep. They were in the 2 blocks of 4. They were 8, 9 behind the ball. And, you know, I think that the Fire could have done a better job moving the ball a little bit quicker, getting some more crosses in, being more dangerous that way. And I think that, look, I think the Heat had a little bit of an impact into that game. And I think really late into the game when they really started moving the ball a little bit quicker, they had some chances.
Well, I think it's kind of one of those weird situations in a game and where they were actually better playing 11v11 against this team, and then, you know, there are moments in soccer where sometimes complacency sets in, not even when you're really aware of it. Like sometimes they say if you score a really early goal, you know, the first or second minute, you'll have a tendency to sit back too much the rest of the game, and you may be the better team, but that goal adversely affects you. And I think this is one of those situations where you have a 2-man advantage, and so as a result, you think, okay, we can keep the ball, we'll boss the game a little bit, and instead, you end up playing a little too slowly. It makes it easy for Orlando that's got 8 defenders back, you know, 25 yards from goal, and it was just a game where more urgency was needed, and, you know, in those situations, to break down a team sitting in the box, you've got to get the ball wide, you've got to put service into the box often. They brought Arshakian in for that, and there still wasn't any service coming into the box. I think, you know, it was just one of those weird games.
Yeah, and look, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, you know, and sometimes you're up 2 men and, you know, I think the urgency is not there.
Right.
But again, this is a game that, you know, you had Dax away with the national team. I think Juninho was left behind. I think, you know, his wife giving birth to their child and stuff. So it's going to be a different game, plus the fact also that, you know, Orlando's playing tonight. So it just depends what kind of team they're going to field out there come this weekend.
Well, Frank, I think that's there's still lessons to be had in that game, and you nailed it in the sense that Orlando playing tonight in Seattle on turf, they're going to be tired coming in. They're going to have squad rotation. And so I think it's going to be very important for the Fire to start the game the way they should have ended it against 9 men. Playing at pace, quickly moving the ball, try to take control of the tempo of the game from the jump, and especially to go after players who might be playing their second round of 90 minutes in a short amount of time. And then, you know, of course, you have to be aware of what Orlando City does well. With no Kyle Larin on the field, they're a little bit better maybe in transition with running in behind the back line, Rivas and Giles Barnes. You know, if Kaká's playing, his ability in transition is very good as well. But I think that the strengths of that Orlando team play actually pretty well into the strengths of the Fire. And to that effect, I think if they are playing at pace quickly in this game, they have a chance to get a couple early goals and really seize momentum. But you have to come out strong.
I agree. So that's why it's interesting for me to see how they approach this game today. They're playing against a Western Conference team out there. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they rotate a team thinking, okay, let's rest some guys, and then really this is a game against the Fire Eastern Conference opponent. This is a team that we have to gain some ground on, and they really, you know, put their best players in this match come this weekend against the Fire to try to get a result there.
We talked earlier about the attack with McCarty and Schweinsteiger and what they're able to do in the middle. Talk a little bit about what the 2 guys on the sides have been able to do. What Brandon Vincent on one side and Matt Polster, who now is playing, you know, he comes in, he's playing right back, and he's attacking on that right side. What those 2 have meant to the attack.
I think they're playing both with a lot of confidence, you know, and I think the one thing that the way that the team plays is the wide players really come inside. You know, they overload the central zones, and they themselves look to create overloads out wide because they really keep possession, but possession for a purpose. So when the space is there, you've seen Vincent many times now get forward because he knows he's going to get the ball. You saw the last play, and Paul talked about it weeks ago when they moved Polster to a right back. You have a midfielder playing there. He has good feet. He does really well when he sees the play developing in front of him. When the space is there, he's got the physical characteristics to really cover that whole zone, and he's got very good feet that he can play out of the back.
I think you're going to see a really interesting dynamic in this game if the back line is what you'd assume it could be in this game, depending on rotation. But if Rafa Ramos is at right back and Toya is on the left back for Orlando City, Ramos is capable of getting up and down the field. He's a feisty player, and that battle with Akam would be interesting to watch. Toya likes to stay home. You know Donnie Toya very, very well. I wouldn't be surprised if the tactic is to pull Solignac or Deleu a little bit more central, try to overload against that diamond midfield, and allow Polster to get forward, because there's no threat of Toya overlapping up the left side. And that allows you to play around a little bit with overloads in an unbalanced formation.
I mean, if they play Nocerino, Higuita, and Johnson, those three with Kaká in front like they've been playing, because they want those three to provide some cover for him, I think that the Fire are going to really dominate the center of the field, because, you know, whether they bring the white guys inside and overload centrally, but then they do a very good job now getting it out wide and really moving those three players who have to cover a lot of width of the field, and they do a very good job. Once they get it out and you think you get a little bit unbalanced, you have the play, you know, if Juninho plays, if Dax plays, those guys, at any time you stretch those lines, their ability to see that space quickly and to see that pass. And for me, what I like, and I talk about McCarty and, you know, and Schweinsteiger and Juninho, they're three players that once they play forward, they're all passes that can lead to something. They're all dangerous passes because they all break lines.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens this coming Saturday. That was Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare. The Chicago Fire getting ready to take on Orlando City SC this Saturday, 7:30 start at Toyota Park. Get on out there. The game presented by Heineken. The first 5,000 fans through the gates receive a koozie from Heineken.